pushing for a promotion. Congresswoman Haley Stevens is here to discuss why she feels ready to leave the House in favor of Michigan's open Senate seat.
What's clear is there are 4 candidates who rise above kind of everyone else just in terms of raw name ID.
Voters may know 4 of the Detroit mayoral candidates more than the others, but coming off a debate on Mackinac, new poll numbers have one far ahead of the pack. This is Flashpoint. Morning, everybody. Coming off the Mackinac Policy Conference on the island last week, we were waiting to see which candidate for Detroit mayor might see the fundraising bump from their performance. Well, instead, we got new data from our exclusive WDIV-Detroit news poll. In a survey of Detroiters who plan to vote in the primary, among 9 candidates, more than 38% would vote for Mary Sheffield. She's 24 points clear of Solomon Kinloch at 14%. Followed by James Craig at 9% and Sauntil Jenkins at 8%. The top 2 vote getters in the August primary move on to the general election. Richard Juba of Glenn Gariff Group conducted the poll, and here's how he breaks down those numbers.
It appears you have a 3-way race here for the second spot between Kinloch, Jenkins, and Craig. And we'll see how that evolves. That's close enough to all be within the margin of error. But Mary Sheffield clearly has a strong lead here heading into the primary election.
Sheffield also leads in name ID and favorability. You can see that entire poll at clickondetroit.com if you'd like to. We're going to discuss that with our roundtable this morning, as well as what they thought of the last mayoral debate. But first, grab your second cup of coffee if you've already had one. Put your feet up, because we're going to talk to Congresswoman Haley Stevens, who is battling fellow Democrats Mallory McMorrow, Joe Tate, and Dr. Abdul El Sayed in the primary for U.S. Senate. Let's say good morning to Congresswoman Haley Stevens, who is now running for Senate. And as you do, Congresswoman, first of all, thanks for being here. What do you see as Michigan's biggest issue right now?
Well, geez, it's these rising costs that are really coming down on Michiganders, from chaotic tariff policy to the fact that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, I guess, have done nothing to address it. And we're seeing Michiganders put grocery bills on credit cards. We are seeing a lot of job uncertainty right now, unfortunately, because of some of these chaotic policies coming from the current administration. And really, there's a lot of great things happening in Michigan, but we need to be doubling down on things that I got done in the United States House of Representatives, like the CHIPS Act. And frankly, Jason, the things I'm hearing from Michiganders are why I have been very eager to put up my hand to run for the United States Senate, because Michigan deserves a fighter, Michigan deserves a champion, and I believe that is me.
You mentioned tariffs. Some of your colleagues believe they could work for Michigan, but I'm just drawing from that answer, you don't think they can work at all. Is that correct?
Look, there's a way in which I have worked on strategic tariffs and pushbacks to the Chinese Communist Party. I'm actually on a House Select Committee working on that regularly. But what we can't have is a new tariff announcement every single day, almost one that comes down by the minute, that doesn't do much for Michigan. You know, we're seeing how the president's signing deals with other countries. Where's the deal for Michigan? Where are the jobs? Frankly, we're seeing slowdowns in hiring. We're seeing disruptions. And we're frankly hearing from Michiganders across the board that these rising costs are continuing to squeeze them. And I know how to do manufacturing policy. I did that as chief of staff on the U.S. Auto Rescue. I've done that as a member of Congress working to pass the Building Blocks of STEM Act and to play a lead role in the CHIPS and Science Act. I've got legislation now that will lessen our dependence on China. Those are things that we need to be doing alongside a very strategic and sometimes surgical surgical approach to tariff policy, but not this.
Well, something that predates this Donald Trump term are the loss of manufacturing jobs in Michigan, 27,000 gone over the last 6 years. Unemployment up for 12 straight months and is now second highest in the nation. What can you do as senator to reverse those numbers that you haven't been able to do as a member of the House?
Yeah, and that unemployment number is something that I've been watching since the start of this year, and it does concern me. And of course, you can listen to the economists on why it's happening, but there's more nuance, frankly, Jason, to what you're sharing, which is the story coming out of Detroit, which I know a lot of your viewers care about. And it's not just that our Tigers are having one heck of a season here. It's that we have population growth in the city of Detroit year over year, that we have actual job growth in the city of Detroit for the third year in a row. But we do need a very dogged and dedicated approach to manufacturing. We don't need, frankly, slowdowns. And look, for our whole entire beautiful state, we make things, we grow things here. We need a farm bill that's going to work for the people of Michigan. We need proven public-private partnerships that deliver for our communities and our supply chain. The elixir of our economy, Jason, is small businesses. I'm the daughter of small business owners, and we need to make sure that every entrepreneur, every innovator has the pathways to success and just tell the Michigan story.
Real quickly, are you saying that even though manufacturing jobs are gone, they might stay gone, but we can make up for those in other areas?
Well, look, there's new areas in which our manufacturing economy is growing. I'd really push back that that's pretty extreme language to say that jobs are gone. There are changes to the economy. There's 40 new plants that were being built in Michigan alone. We have a governor who wants to see us get a fabricator to produce microchips. Let's do that. That's a way replace and continue to grow.
You've previously said that you would fight like hell against Donald Trump, and you kind of said it here in this interview. Recently, Governor Gretchen Whitmer worked with Matt Hall and the president to help land new jets for Selfridge Air Base, and she was widely criticized by many in her own party for doing that. Are you willing to work with Donald Trump as senator if it produces results like that for Michigan?
Look, I'm proud to have a bipartisan track record. I've got bills signed by both presidents in my office. I'm working on legislation right now that is going to deliver for new technologies. I know all the engineers watching your show right now care about my quantum legislation. But look, right now, when we're not getting the consistency from the Trump administration, I'm a lawmaker and I know the meaning of my role, and I want to get something for my vote when I give it. And I want to make sure that the legislation that I have been working on, as someone who was just named one of the most effective lawmakers in Congress, I want to make sure that Michigan gets something for that. I'm not here to rubber stamp an agenda like Mike Rogers or Bill Huizenga, who have gleefully said that they're just going to link arms with Elon Musk and Donald Trump to continue to create this level of disruption. We all want our country to succeed. We all want our state to succeed. And yes, I'm here to work for Michigan, and my record speaks for itself.
Well, let's talk about education real quick. We know Michigan's been lagging in that area, consistently among the nation's worst over the last few years. What would be your specific education policy goals in the Senate to better prepare our students for what we've talked about here a little bit, that changing economy?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm grateful to get the opportunity to answer that question because I have spent my time in Congress working alongside our school districts with Wayne Risa and Oakland County Schools and Genesee Schools as well around fully funding special education here in the United States of America and for Michigan. I have had our school districts show me their budgets. I have presented them time and time again, showing the gap because, of course, we have special education in our schools, but it is an unfunded mandate. And now, 50 years since that mandate was passed into law, it is coming to roost. Our schools are robbing Peter to pay Paul. They are not investing in our educators. And we need to continue to do things like what we see in Troy schools and all across our school districts. It's actually a bragging point in Michigan that we have the most number of FIRST robotics teams. I've passed things like the Building Blocks of STEM Act to get grant dollars from the National Science Foundation, no new money, but to get those grant dollars into our schools for continual educational opportunities for the jobs of today and tomorrow. It is those skill sets that are mission critical for us. And of course, in Michigan, our unions also played such a great role with their apprenticeship programs.
It's easy to draw distinctions between you and someone like Mike Rogers, but let me talk about the other people running against you in the primary. We're talking about Mallory McMorrow, Dr. Abdul El Sayed, and Joe Tate. What accomplishments have you made? What qualities do you have that separate you from those other Democrats?
Well, look, I think I bring a very unique background to this race. I have visited over 250 manufacturers through my Manufacturing Monday program. I am regularly in the communities that I represent to capture what they are saying, what they need, and to deliver in the United States House of Representatives. Running for United States Senate, this is our chief lawmaking role as a state. My receipts and track record speaks for itself. Again, I was proud to be named one of the most effective lawmakers in the entire Congress, frankly, coming out of a term in which people didn't see a lot of lawmaking happen. But I continue to have my head down and to work. And that is what I'm going to do on this campaign, is I'm going to work to earn the votes of Michiganders, and I will work my heart out for our state to be their biggest champion in the United States Senate.
Congresswoman Haley Stevens, we certainly wish you the best of luck with your campaign, and thanks so much for joining us this morning. We're back with the roundtable right after this. Back here on Flashpoint with the Roundtable, let's say good morning to our friends, starting with Nolan Finley, editorial page editor at the Detroit News, the executive advisor for Bridge Detroit, Stephen Henderson. Portia Roberson is the CEO of Focus Hope, and from Rowe, strategic, political, and communications strategist Jason Rowe. All right, how about a quick debate postmortem from up north? You guys moderated. Right. Hold your thoughts. Let me start over here. Jason, what stood out to you on the mayoral debate up at Mackinac?
I will say my biggest takeaway is how much trouble we're in moving forward, following up on the 12 years of Mike Duggan's leadership. I think each candidate brings something to the table, but I think when you look at over 10 years, general fund revenues have been flat at about $1.5 billion. You got police and fire contracts that are coming up. You got the end of the Biden bucks. There's not a lot of revenue opportunities to generate for the city moving forward. And whoever has to follow Duggan has a lot of hard work ahead of them.
And James Craig tried to use that to his advantage, Portia, talking about the federal dollars disappearing. But we have new poll numbers that we'll talk about in a minute, too. But it doesn't look, he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, he has a lot of ground to make up. As somebody who is Republican running in Detroit, it's going to be hard for people to jump on that bandwagon. I think I agree with Jason that there's no money, and that's going to be the biggest issue. We've got great candidates. I think across the board, this is the first time we've had a really good, solid group of candidates running for mayor, and I think that's great for the citizens of Detroit. But I think nobody really understands how different it's going to be in the next 4 years, and it has been in the last 12.
Yeah, and you had said up there that whoever wins this, quote unquote, might get a financial bump. Like, Steve, I'll start with you. What did you see from your vantage point? I mean, you were right
not much. Not much. I think they could have done better with moderators on the debate. No, I thought all of the candidates showed more of themselves, at least to me, than they had in some of the other places I had seen them. And we designed the questions to be able to do that, to let them make their best case about how they would handle.
And they were very direct.
And they were. I thought they were all very direct. There was not a lot of sniping among them, which I thought was good. I'm still going back and watching different parts of it to see how I can evaluate it. I mean, when you're doing it, when you're moderating it, you don't really hear everything. But I did think that Fred Durhall stood out, and many people who saw it on the island told me they thought he stood out more than the others. So I don't know. I don't know how much it all matters in the end, right?
Polling that we're going to talk about is still lagging a little bit there. What did you take away from it, Nolan?
This, I'm with Jason in terms of this lack of continuity. There's no sense here, no confidence coming out of that debate that what we've seen over the last 12 years will continue over the next 4. And, I fault Mike Duggan in a way for that. He had time here to develop a successor, to develop an heir apparent, if you will, someone who would have been by his side throughout that. Somebody like Portia Roberson, who would have.
Boy, every time we're on this show, this comes up.
But that sense of handing off to a competent successor. Now, I thought all 6 of these folks, or 5 of these folks, that were in the debate, offered some substance. I was impressed by Santil Jenkins. I think she is, she's versed in the issues. She's had some leadership experience. She came off as a little diminutive, and I don't know how that's going to play with the voters.
The new poll numbers came out this week, ours and Detroit News. What did you take away from that when you look at Mary Sheffield now with a 38-14 lead over Solomon Kinloch?
Well, she appears to be locked in for the general election. I think it'd be hard to argue with that. But who's number 2? There's 22% undecided. That could go anywhere. It can go to a lot of different places. But, the general election is going to be a whole lot different when it's just one-on-one candidates.
Portia, what do you think of the people that are right behind there in that mix? Like Nolan said, 22% undecided. What do they have to do now to get that second spot?
Well, it's interesting. I thought that there would be a lot more activity and a lot more attention on the mayor's race right now, right? Usually after Memorial Day, you just see a massive kick in to people wondering who the candidates are. We still haven't seen that, so I'm not really sure where that 22% is going to go. I think, Solomon, everybody talks about the fact that he has a large congregation. He has a lot of people that are out there that can be part of his street team, so to speak. So, he looks like he might do it. But I also think that Santil is really, as Nolan said, versed in the issues. And I think if she can break through a little bit, she's going to pick up a good number of that 22%.
Jason, if you were advising someone, we have another debate a week from Monday, and you would think after these poll numbers come out, it might be a gang up on Mary Sheffield kind of situation. If you were advising someone other than her, what would your strategy be there?
Well, it depends on who you are and what kind of money you have. Listen, if you are anyone that's not named Mary Sheffield, you're probably going to start attacking Mary Sheffield with your spending when the time comes. Absentee ballots go out June 22nd, so it's right around the corner,
Exactly.
just about 2 weeks from right now. That's when you're going to start seeing the spending, and you've got this gaggle of about 3 candidates jockeying for second. The other thing about Kinloch on the delegation, the boots on the street mean something, but it's absentee ballots, because not only can those that are congregants within the city of Detroit, they have friends, they have family, and if he can mobilize them to send in absentee ballots, that doesn't cost anything,
right?
And that could decide the election.
Stephen, the other 2 numbers that jumped out at me in that poll were James Craig's underwater in his favorability, the only one, and Kinloch has the second highest favorability as well as unfavorability.
Yeah.
Which one means more to you?
I think the Kinloch number is more interesting to me because I think he's closer to contending for that second spot than James Craig, who seems like maybe he's out of it. Here's a wild card. In several elections in the city, the person who wins the primary has gone on to lose the election.
Yeah.
I think if you're Kinloch, you're banking on the organizational advantage you have, the reach you have to mean more in the fall than it will mean in the primary. And those numbers really, I think, maybe give a boost to some of that.
Yeah. Let me jump to the governor's race. And Nolan, as I do it, I wanted to ask kind of who do you think made, because they were all very active on the island, it felt like. I wanted to ask who made the biggest splash, but also at the same time, I want to ask this Mallory McMorrow situation, well, that's Senate. Let me start with who made the biggest splash in your mind on Mackinac Island, because they're all very active, the gubernatorial candidates.
Well, that conference was all about Mike Duggan. I mean, he had an hour and 15-minute campaign speech. I think that irritated some of the other candidates. I didn't see John James up there. Did you?
That was my next point. How damaging is that to him? I was going to ask Jason that.
I saw Mike Cox. Eric Nesbitt was up there. But it wasn't really, other than Mike Duggan, it wasn't really about the governor's race this time. I think there was a lot more attention on the mayor's race, and
Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, we shouldn't be thinking about race that's
Right.
18 months away. This perpetual election cycle is part of the problem, I think, with
think it's
governance
great.
in the state. You love it.
But I
You love
also
it.
think, John James, if somebody's giving you $5 million with more to come, you don't necessarily have to come to the Mackinac Policy Conference.
You
can
still
sit
gotta
back
work.
a little bit. Oh, you can run. You got to run. No
you still
question
got
about
to
it.
work. I mean, money's not everything, and you've got to put the effort in. And I think that's one of the questions about John James, whether he can, roll up the sleeves and do the everyday hard work, voter by voter, to get across the finish line.
Does anybody think Mike Rogers was hurt by not being there? I mean, it's, like you said, we still got a long way to go.
I think it's an important place. It's an important place to be, and Steve's right. It is a long time out. You got next year where these candidates have another chance at this, but on fundraising alone, it's an important place to be. I don't know why he wasn't there, but
Well, I also don't think Mike Rogers is going to end up having a primary. I mean, Huizinga was there, and he was
acting like a candidate.
Yeah.
But the Republican Senatorial Committee, a lot of the Washington powers are pushing him to stay right where he is. And just today there is breaking news. He's been kind of counting on crypto money that would help him because he's a vice chairman of the House Financial Services Committee and has been a proponent of crypto. Crypto guys spent $10 million against Rogers last cycle, and I think Bill's been counting on that. And one of the crypto groups just came out and said that they are with Rogers this time. So I think that cuts off some funding that I think Bill was counting on. I'll be very surprised if he draws a primary, and maybe it's a play it safe this early on for him.
he did seem rather determined up there. That,
Yeah, he did.
It was like trying to talk away all of the reasons he shouldn't run. I mean, he seemed like he wanted to get in. So
There's no doubt. But he's also realized he's probably never going to be the Financial Services Committee chairman and looking for a second act.
We have less than a minute, so quick answers, and it's because we have all these candidates. I meant to say Jocelyn Benson. Do you think, how much does this battle with the Republicans hurt her, Portia?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt her that much. I mean, as we've seen, Mike is pulling from both sides, so I think Jocelyn's going to keep on her path, and we'll see what happens.
Nolan?
this issue of transparency, I think, is a big deal. And she's a Secretary of State. You expect her to be honest and forthcoming with voters. And instead, she's hiding information that belongs to the public.
There you go. That's got to be the last word. Sorry, gentlemen and lady. Thanks so much for being here. Had another wonderful time. We're right back to finish the show right after this. Finally this morning, this is your call to get involved. A week from tomorrow, we are hosting 4 of the top candidates for Detroit mayor in a primetime debate right here on Local 4. I always ask for your feedback at this time of the show by emailing us at flashpoint@clickondetroit.com. But this week, I'm also asking if you have a question of the candidates for mayor that you'd like asked. Send it my way. Maybe I'll ask it during the debate on the 16th. I'd love to hear your thoughts. That's our show for now. I'm Jason Colthorpe. We'll see you later.